Morning everybody, welcome back to the channel. So last week I said that it had been rainy and it hasn't really stopped all week, off and on, and as you can see plenty of water laying in this regenerative field. So before people comment on the fact that I've got a lot of compaction, I just wanted to show you in their local hedge line right next to that field there's a tree sitting in a puddle. Just goes to demonstrate that it's not a question of compaction, it's sheer amount of water. So we sprayed this field off in anticipation of being able to go drilling in February, and one thing I've noticed is this huge flush of thistles that's come through. One of the first things conventional farmers ask me about the regenerative system is how do you cope with blackgrass, and I actually find that blackgrass isn't so much of an issue, but whatever your system is, it selects for a weed, and certainly thistles have become much more of an issue in a regenerative low nitrogen world than blackgrasses. And that's interesting because I've referred to previously a book that's What Weeds Tell Us. In that it describes thistles in particular as a pioneer plant, where if your soil is left naked and if you have a compaction issue, they've got a particularly big taproot, so that's why they help open up the soil. Now the issue for me is I don't really like how naked this soil has been left. I would have preferred to have kept a green cover, but I'm trying to do a glyphosate burn off and start my cropping cycle again. So this situation wasn't anticipated, but it's happened. The question is whether I come back and thistles and nettles aren't controlled that well with glyphosate. Maybe I come back with a broadleaf herbicide instead before I go drilling. These are just some of the considerations I'm going through at the moment whilst I wait for the land to dry up. One of the other things was earlier in the season I was worrying about a protracted drought. Not quite such an issue now, but at the time I had lumped my two first splits of urea together in order to try and make use of better utilization rates earlier in the season. But now it's come in very helpful for a slightly different reason. I haven't been able to access the fields for some time, and as a result I've missed what would have been the window for that second split. So I'm considering moving my third split forward, and I will apply that next before I go drilling in an effort to again buy me some more time, because I'm definitely under the impression that weather events become more continuous. So whether it's a protracted dry spell or a protracted wet spell, whatever the weather is, it happens for a longer period of continuousness. So anticipating that after this big wet period we're going to get a long dry period, going to try and get that fertilizer on conventional crops as soon as possible, and also it gives more time for the land to dry out. Increasingly I believe that ground conditions are more important than time of year, and therefore I'm going to be less worried about trying to get the crop in straight away, more patient, letting the ground conditions improve. When they become right, off we'll go with drilling. Okay, more to follow. So one thing that has occupied a lot of my time over the last couple of weeks are these two telegraph poles behind me. So they were carrying electric to the local hospital, and they've been taken down to make way for this, which is a new roundabout. As you can see, struggling with the wet weather a little bit, but because they were a dual pair of power lines, you can see one left out there, we weren't able to crop this piece of land in between. There were like 20 meters between the two sets of poles, so it's quite annoying for the sprayer. So we've left this as sort of environmental land, but we're thinking of bringing it back into production. But the electricity board have left me these rather nice telegraph pole stumps to get rid of, and there's another one over there. So that'll probably be one of my challenges, trying to remove these in the build up when it starts getting drier again. Morning everybody, welcome back to the channel. So a quick apology for not posting very many videos, but quite frankly it's just been so wet. I have focused on our winter crops, the crops that are already growing, ensuring that we look after those. So we've done our second split of nitrogen, or effectively our third, as we combined the first and second together. So that's worked in quite well. We're well up to, I think we'd be 150 kilos of N have already gone on. This field of spring wheat has had an application as well. So we've kept on top of the fertilizer, but really it's been the occasional day or half day that we've been able to snatch with the drill. So we managed, I think, about 2.5 hectares after the bank holiday weekend. We chose not to go during the bank holiday weekend. Lots of people were out drilling, but I just felt I've got relatively young staff and a young family of my own, so balancing the two needs, I just didn't want to be off farm when people were working. So still haven't made much progress. Heavy land is still waterlogged. And interestingly, I received a phone call from a colleague the other day who was making inquiries about weeding. And he was saying he took the opportunity to plant a lot of spring oats in the February window. And now he was confronted with a lot of blackgrass. And so one of the benefits of holding back is that we've been able to engineer a second glyphosate spray, and actually doesn't seem to be grass weeds that are growing at the moment, but more broadleaf weeds. So we've included a special broadleaf herbicide with our second application of glyphosate. One other thing that we did manage to pull off over the bank holiday, over the Easter weekend, was to go and view a chameleon drill. And rather than being a solution, it's actually generated a number of questions for us. One thing that we noticed is that you definitely need to do a degree of pre-drill cultivation. So in a direct drilling system, that's not great. But this field here, we had done a pre-drill cultivation, just went through with the carrier, chopped up the trash, the mustard residue, and we were looking to move the blackgrass plants around a bit, trying to break up the root structure. So the viewing of the chameleon drill and this requirement to break up the root structure of the blackgrass has really come together. So I have spent a little bit of time reviewing what's on offer from the Kelly Harrow company, and whether, now that they're making a smaller 6-meter Kelly Harrow, whether that might be a worthwhile investment. I think it's a stage that we'll have to take on our journey towards a chameleon or a weeder, and really that's where we've got to. So hopefully this week we've had a few drying days over the weekend, and we'll be able to crack on with pushing on with spring drilling. We also have some coppice hedges that need to be chipped this week, so that's two big items for next week. So see you next time. Bye.